Hey everybody, welcome to the May. I can't believe it's already May, or if we're just about halfway through the year, almost. The May Town Hall. We're going to be reviewing 215.5, which is our next update. A lot of people are on 215.4, and we still have quite a few of our customers on a previous version. So I know it's probably boring. I know everyone on here is pretty active and with it, and typically comes to every webinar. But that might not be the case. So we will be covering some aspects of just rehashing the update process for that 215.4 update. 215.4 is the latest version. We'll just briefly talk about 214.4 getting up to 215.3, and now we're going to be talking about 215.5 as well, and just some other things that happened in terms of new agent update. Again, the 215.5 breakdown. And then towards the end of today's call, we will be touching upon a little regionally. There is a New England event that is happening shortly. So we'll just touch upon what that's going to look like. If any of you are in the area, going to get you some details on what the cost might be. Some aspects of it have no cost, so we'll touch upon that, and we will end on Q&A. I also have my colleague here. Well, I didn't even introduce myself. I'm Patrick, as many of you know, with my colleague Nick Furta. He'll be handling Q&A. Cut me off while we go through things if you have any questions, so we can get those answered for you. So without further ado, we will just rehash the 215.3 update very quickly. So we still have quite a few licenses on previous versions 214.4 or even earlier than 214, but quite a few people who are still not on the latest and greatest. There is a bit of a heavier lift with this update, as we've talked about, where there's no further real effort on your side. It's just going to take a lot longer, just because there's a lot of more moving pieces with the 215.3 update. First and foremost, it's moving operating systems. Again, you don't have any involvement with that. We handle that on your behalf, but it's going to take a few hours just because of that heavy lift, moving from Ubuntu 18 through 20 all the way up to 2204. It is a regular in-place upgrade, so same old, going into settings, going into the update area, and selecting that you would like to start the update. Now, the only difference with this is there is a 214.4 prep upgrade. As we mentioned previously, don't sit on that. Keep moving up to 215.3. Move along. Nothing to see here, because it does intentionally turn off certain services to prep the update to 215.3. One of the issues that we had, or we noticed, is there was a case where sometimes the update wouldn't kick off due to an NTP issue. We did cover that on the last webinar. So the default, which we fixed in the newer updates, to 215.3 or in previous was utilizing the time.nist.gov server. Sometimes there's just so much latency with that particular server that it would hang up the update. So if you have a snag and with the update, if you prompted it to go and it didn't kick off, NTP might be the culprit. Please open up a ticket. We have a good method of handling that. It's mainly just changing the NTP settings. Of course, the update process is going to be updating those settings anyway. We did a hot fix for that. But just to kind of cover that. And the only difference with this update is when you go to hit update, it's going to pop up a warning banner that says, hey, make sure you're good to go. Make sure you have sound backups, which I'll cover on the next slide. And then you have to type update in all caps to confirm moving forward. So having backups is essential, not just for updating, but just in general, right? So if you have a virtual machine, you can of course take a VM snapshot. We recommend doing that. If you're a majority of our clients, everyone's on the hardware appliance, make sure you run the backups, kick it to an external location, store that off. If you need help with the updating process, or rather the backup process, please reach out to our support team. And then, much like with any update, but especially with this one because it takes so long, never ever power cycle your system. Of course, if you have sound backups, we'll be able to fix it. We'll be able to get up there and restore. But if there's no backups and you power cycle your system, you're going to have a bad time. Try to recoup as much as possible, but just we want to make sure don't power cycle. This particular 2.15.3 update doesn't have a visual confirmation all the way through like a lot of our other updates do, so it might be a black screen, but it's going along just fine. So I just wanted to cover that very quickly to start off the call today. For any of you that haven't moved up, please do. And now we'll talk about briefly what was covered in that update, and then we'll move on to the latest and greatest, what we got on the new stuff. User permissions was a major enhancement that we added. If you missed it on the last monthly town hall or the previous one, we completely reworked the user management and permission system. So you of course have admin, but there were some complaints before, and rightly so, that only an admin could access the compliance tool. Well, now you can do read-write or read-only access to the compliance tab, as well as the other tabs support read-write, such as events, hosts, and the vulnerability scanner. So a lot of more flexibility when it comes to the user management system. So again, that's a rehash. Thank you for everyone who's already seen this aspect. Try to cover it quickly. If there's any questions, please ask, but we'll be moving on to the new stuff. So agent update. So this is really only for certain people, but it is important. Windows 11, which a lot of people are moving towards. Of course, Windows 10 will be end of life in the next couple of years, even though it was supposed to be the last Windows version upgrade, last version of Windows, and everyone laughed and laughed. So Windows 11, everyone that is moving to it, there are some things that change with it and how it was interfacing with or the previous version of the agent, the 2.11.5 version of the agent was interacting with Windows 11. Sometimes it wouldn't install services properly, which would cause the host, whatever that Windows 11 host was, to not show up in the agent manager window. So not communicating properly with your NeQter. So please update to the latest version. It can get you can download the agent wherever we have the agent downloadable from, which includes, of course, the docs.neqterlabs.com website, specifically in one of the how-to areas of agent deployment. It is in there. It is also in the life raft icon on your NeQter. Actually, let me just show that real quick. Up over here, helpful resources, download agents will kick you to the area directly in which to download the agents. And then you can also, of course, use the doc site here, how-to guides, agent manager deployment guide, and right here, inventory and agents file. You can download it from right there. So that is what you're going to need for Windows 11. So moving on, update 2.15.5. One of the things, and I think this was actually brought up on the previous town hall, so we fixed it. Good news. So health metrics, dashboard, and the RAM adjustment, of course. So in the previous versions of NeQter, we had a health metrics dashboard, which, as you recall, on the home screen, where it says view health dashboard, that's where it was. Actually, I'll go back because I'm on the older version. Right now, as you can see, my RAM is at 98, 99%, and we didn't have the health dashboard. We had to remove it just for that particular version because under the hood a bit, we needed a newer version of metric beat on our underlying OS. So we reintroduced it, got that new agent on there. You'll be able to view the health dashboard much like you would before, so you could see the history of your RAM and CPU and disk and network utilizations. But we also had an issue where RAM utilization would say 99%. And everyone said, hey, that's terrible. Why is my RAM always at 99%? And it was technically right and also technically wrong. So we changed what we were using as a source value, just a little bit to get into that. What happens is, because we leverage Elastic, it allocates all of the RAM. It takes it all for itself and then uses, of course, less than that. So it was taking up all of the RAM and allocating all of it, hence 99%. But it's using, much less, 20 or 30% less. So we changed the source value from allocated to used. So now your RAM will be humming around 60, 70%, typically, depending on your different tier size. So we fixed that. So hopefully, no more questions on RAM usage.
Pat, can we take a pause here? I have a question from Brian Fulmer on the new agents. He would like to know if the existing agents are capable of self-updating, or should they do that themselves via GPO as they previously did?
It's going to be the latter. It's going to be pushing that new agent out via GPO, like the previous method that you deployed it. The reason that we do that is because we find it because it's simple enough to deploy out through GPO, and also after a couple of years prior, the SolarWinds incident, and then also issues with Kaseya, where the agents automatically update or update on themselves. We actually intentionally remove the ability for agents to update on their own to avoid malicious control of the agents or downloading unsigned packages to agents. So the best way to do that is going to be redeployment through GPO for, and again, this is just for Windows 11. If it's going to be Windows 10 stuff, the current agents work fine. As you transition to Windows 11, you're going to need those new ones. Yeah, because yeah, thanks for that, Brian. Yeah, there was because we update the agent so infrequently, which is typically maybe once a year, for them to always be listening for updates, we thought that was a risk that we could just easily mitigate by disabling it or not even building that functionality into the agents. So yes, please redeploy through your previous methods, namely GPO. Thanks, Nick. So one thing that we did add, I don't know if we had this on anyone's radar, but it was something that we wanted to build in. We actually recently built in Veeam support. So for Veeam backup and replication, we built in support for that. Because of how Veeam writes its logs, it actually writes them to the Windows event logs. So we actually needed to perform an enhancement on in the agent manager under under the event IDs area or the WinLog area of Windows configuration. We added a new event ID default template, so for Veeam monitoring, and we turn on 52 potential event types, and those are going to be the most common ones, namely a restore point was created, different jobs being or tasks being created, or failing, or just anything surrounding establishing a backup, having it run, and any of those events surrounding Veeam backup and replication. It does support up to 213 individual event types. They have so many different ones that they can run, but we selected a subset of that. And of course, with that, there is a new Veeam dashboard that has been added, summarizing those jobs, summarizing the success and or failure of the Veeam application. So we built that in, new input, new integration, and it's actually not going to be under settings and inputs. You're going to be able to configure it through the hosts agents tab, where you can select a new default for Veeam. So you can select whichever hosts you that have Veeam that you are looking to support. So I see a question here. What Veeam version does this support? 11 or 12? I believe, and I will just double check right now. We Let me actually just double check what version that we built it for. And I'll get back to you on that. Yeah, pretty straightforward. And obviously you can interact with the dashboard like any of the other dashboards. So I'll ask our dev team just to double check and keep moving. An additional thing, so this is going to not matter to a majority, but will matter to some, which is why we built it in. So we did build in support for an offline updater. And basically what that entails will be there's going to be a new button under the updates area, as you can see over here, offline updating, which when you click on that will open up a flyout where you can upload the update package. We're going to be manually distributing those, so we'll have to have a direct conversation with each client that wishes to have an offline update, and that's for any of you that have an enclaved NeQter that cannot communicate externally, or especially communicate with our update server. For that, files will be manually distributed. We'll send them over to you, and then you can upload them into the system directly. Those updates are encrypted. Additionally, the updates will only be for sequential updates. So if the last time you updated it was 2.15.5 and we're on 2.16 and there's 5 updates in between, you'll have to get each update package and upload it individually, 2.15.6, 7, 8, or et cetera. So that's what the update process will look like. I am unsure. I believe so we're only moving forward from this point forward. So if you're on 2.11, this isn't going to be supported, because obviously it doesn't have the offline updating button. So you'll have to get to 2.15.5 as a new floor. But moving forward, you will be able to utilize that and sequentially update. If you try to use a random file or even the wrong version, it will detect and prompt you and say, hey, that's the wrong version. You try to, you're on 2.15.5, you try to jump to 2.15.7, it will say, hey, you need 2.15.6, please get that file and upload it. So there is some, hand-holding in that process. As of right now, there isn't a vulnerability feed support for those updates. This is just for the NeQter license itself. We will look to have a method for updating new signatures or new updates to the vulnerability feed through a packaging system in the future, but that won't be included with this one here. Mark, I got an answer for Veeam version. This was developed utilizing version 12 documents, and it's a utility server and what we tested on, which goes to say that it might work for version 11, but it wasn't developed towards that. So if you have version 11 and we and we get access to that, or you would like to try to support that, and if you encounter any bugs or if it works great, then let's definitely have a dialogue to make sure. But in terms of our testing environment and development for the feature of Veeam, it was under the assumption of a version 12 of Veeam. Okay, well, good. Yeah, so maybe that's for everyone else. Nick, I see that there's a another question. It's a bit long, so if you could read that.
No, that's from Brian, just
Mm-hmm.
commenting on how useful the SIEM data from our platform was while on a support call with Sentinel-1/Ranger AD, noting that he couldn't get the information he needed from a different appliance, but he was able to get it from ours, and that Sentinel-1 noted that the NeQter's abilities come in handy in all sorts of different places. Just a nice little note for us to appreciate the platform we've allowed him to use.
Okay, awesome. Thanks for that, Brian. I will what I like to do is if we get stuff like that, because it's tough on support and it's tough on development when usually they only get bad news, or hey, there's a bug, or hey, can we have X and we don't have it yet. So I like to I'll definitely take that comment and throw it in our central Slack channel and let everyone know that everyone's doing a good job. So let us know if you have any questions on the offline updater. But again, this is something that we had a handful of companies reach out and say, hey, my NeQter is siloed. I can't externally access the internet with it. So hopefully this will alleviate or provide a means to update those siloed NeQters. To end on, so that's everything with 2.15.5. As far as I am aware, that will be coming out within the next couple of weeks, and then we'll be moving on to some pretty heavy stuff after that update. We're actually going to be working on version 3.0 of the platform. So a couple things to end on. So just to reiterate, in case anyone's missed it, we are on some new hardware. A lot of people, majority of our clients are still on Supermicro, and we of course still support that. Typically those systems, by default, they have a 3-year warranty, and we have many clients who are on year 5 of utilizing those systems, and again, we still support them. However, we have had increasingly clients, or at least a handful of clients, who are hitting that 5-year mark and are starting to experience drive failure. Of course, we have the RAID. So if you lose one drive, you have the other drive. But of course, just like with tires, you got both of those drives at the same time. If one of those goes, the next one, the other one might be shortly following it. So we are encouraging anyone past the 3-year mark to reach out and refresh to new hardware. We are on ASUS now with an entirely new chassis, entirely new hardware, and the capabilities of this hardware are impressive. Like, they're so powerful. The CPU capability alone, the processing power, um, more threads, uh, actually less cores, more threads, more power with those ones there. But allows us to have some more enterprise level features, such as anyone trying to replace a component or had to do an RMA with the Supermicro, you got to take the top off. With these, we have hot swappable drive bays. We also have expansion bays. So some of our newer customers were able to throw in like a fiber card or other supported cards in there. It also does have a dual power supply. Something I didn't put on the slide that is worth noting is the previous Supermicro did have a TPM for encryption of data at rest, but the new TPM that we have is listed on the FIPS list. So it's FIPS 140-2 validated, and because of the new distributor that we are also able to flex the 3-year base warranties with an additional 2-year extension. So you can get a 5-year fully supported and warranted system. You can also add an additional SKU for a keep your drive policy. So if you did have to do an RMA, you'd be able to keep your drives each time. That's basically just the quick and narrow on the new hardware. Just wanted to reemphasize that. I noticed we got another question. In terms of regarding the new clients, the agent clients, are we able to use FQDN to report back? That feature didn't make it into it was basically a hotfix update for the support to Windows 11. In terms of updating fully qualified domain name rather than static IP for the server and the agents, didn't make it into that hotfix. We are going to be doing a full agent makeover down the line. I think we might have hinted at that previously. So the new agent upgrade is more of a compatibility upgrade with Windows 11 rather than a reworking of some of the core functionality. So that's still in the works. Unfortunately, it is still in the plans, but that will be in our agent rework, our agent update, when we rework the agents, which is going to be coinciding with or will be following the 3.0 update that we're working on next. Well, I'll leave some stuff to cover on the next town hall. I don't want to cover everything here, but we will be moving a lot of the underlying components with that 3.0 in terms of potentially shifting away from Elastic to another base. But I'll cover that in the next town hall as I have more concrete information. But thanks for the question, Mark. We are going to look to work that into future updates on the agent. So that's on the hardware. So that's everything NeQter software and hardware related. From a regional standpoint, there is NDIA, or the National Defense Industry Alliance, New England chapter, that's putting on a cyber event. Usually, in previous years, it was at the Northeastern Innovation Campus up in Burlington, Mass. But now, which is really cool, is it's going to be at Gillette Stadium in Foxborough. So that's actually coming up May 10th. It's a Wednesday. There are going to be some prominent industry talking heads, as well as Pentagon and Department of Defense and government as speakers at that event as well. It's going to be in the stadium. NeQter Labs is sponsoring. And because we're sponsoring, we will be there. You'll be able to meet the team if you haven't already in person, and you can use a code to get a $50 a voucher essentially off your registration. If your company is an NDIA member, you obviously also get a membership discount to attend. If you're in the area, or and you can't attend the full day, or can't carve out time or resources for a full conference, we are going to be sponsoring a after party at Patriot Place between the hours of 6 and 9 on that Wednesday, May 10th, and it's free drinks, free food, that we're putting on. So if there's any questions on that, if you would like to go, if you like to attend, please reach out. We'll get you a registration link so that you can sign up for the festivities. So all told, that is that's our webinar today. Nice tight 30-minute webinar. But of course, we'll open up the floor now to see if you guys have any other questions. So 215.5 is pretty light. There are a few things that we added, mostly also rehashing the previous update. Need to get everyone up on the latest and greatest, and just kind of look into the future with what we got going on. So leave the floor open, leave the chat open to see if you guys have any other questions that would be good to cover. Nick, was there anything, I know covered quite a bit. Is there anything you think I might have left out or would be good to rehash?
The only thing I think you might have left out would be which version of the platform is going to have the Veeam support, which Mark actually just put a question in for that. Whether they can do it from 2.15.4 or if it's going to be 2.15.5.
Yeah, so 2.15.4 is the current version that everyone has or can update to. We will be releasing 2.15.5 in the next couple of weeks, or before our next town hall, so in May, and that will include the Veeam support, also the health dashboard that I covered, as well as everything else that we touched upon. The agent for Windows 11 is currently supported on the current version 2.15.4 and will be supported moving forward. So you can get that agent, download it, and redeploy it now for your Windows 11 assets to get that to get them with the agent and pushing logs. Make sure that's good to go. But yeah, Veeam will be 2.15.5, so that will be coming out shortly.
Yeah. Pat, I'm pretty sure everyone here is familiar with where to go to get that new agent file, but it might be a good idea just in case to show everyone or go through where you can go to actually acquire that.
Yeah, we'll rehash it here. So you'll be able to, there's two areas. We'll go up to the top right where there's a little life raft, or I forget, little lifesaver. And you can click download agents, which will take you directly to that agent download, or you can click on this book and go into the doc site, click on how-to guides, click on agent manager deployment guide, and then it will be right here. this little tab, Inventory and Agents File. Of course, this flyout is a live plugin of the actual docs.nectarlabs.com website. So even if you go there directly, docs.nectarlabs.com, you'll be able to go through the same process, get that agent downloaded. And yeah, so we'll be looking at 2.15.5 for Veeam and everything else that we covered, the offline updater, and the new metric support and that RAM fix. And of course, if this is anyone's first town hall, welcome. And if you wanted to catch something or you missed something, you had to step away, these get recorded and they will be uploaded to our NeQter Labs YouTube channel that you can subscribe to. They get added every month, and yeah, so you'll be able to access those there. So anything else, Nick? I don't see too many more questions. I know that a lot of the people on the webinar are lifers that come every time, and they're super fans, and I really appreciate you. But they're like, seen this, done that, nothing new. We're probably already on the latest update, which we appreciate. Anything else, Nick, that you think would be worth covering?
I think you covered things pretty well today, Pat. I can't personally think of anything else that I would bring up, especially for the lifers that we got in here. But, I would definitely love if anyone had any unique questions today. We'd be more than happy to cover them while we got some time left in the webinar for you.
Yep. And I'll put this out here too, because I can make a new code. But if anyone wants any NeQter Labs merch, if you're a lifer, if you're a big fan, let us know, and we'll look to get you something. Something for free. Which we got, hats and shirts and mugs. Got some new baseball hats, which came out really nice. And if you do attend the NDIA, we will have them in person too. So, yeah, I knew it'd be you, Mark. Yeah. So we'll reach out, Nick, if you could reach out to Mark, see what he'd like, and we'll get him
Yeah,
something.
absolutely. Go for the sweatshirt. It's the most comfortable sweatshirt I own.
Jeff, I saw a question. So Jeff, I didn't quite understand your question. If you could retype that. And then Eric, you are absolutely able to call. Yes, so I'll rehash that. If you need any help with support, and if you need some help redeploying those agents, absolutely reach out to our team. There's a couple ways that you can do it. You can either send them a email directly at support@nectarlabs.com. That will automatically create a ticket. You can call into our main line, 401-608-6522, and then go through the prompts to reach support. The best way, the way I recommend the most, is to use our doc site directly, docs.nectarlabs.com, or use this flyout here where you can click submit a ticket. And the reason I recommend this is because with this form, you're going to be able to add some more information to the ticket. So you can specify priority, classify what the ticket is, as well as give a description and also upload any supporting evidence or screen grabs or anything that you'd like to provide to help support. But absolutely. So actually what we'll do, Eric, Nick will reach out to you directly and set up a ticket on your behalf to schedule a remote support session to walk you through getting those agents redeployed.
Yeah, Eric, I have access to both of our support team members' calendars, so I'll find a time that works for you with your schedule, and I'll just put it right on the calendar for you today.
And just to answer that merch question, yes, we support all sizes. I understand, everyone's trying to get ready for summer, but might be carrying some, extra holiday weight. We can definitely accommodate that. And uh, just want to call out Jeff again. Um, don't really understand your question there. Something about the update. Um, just hopefully want to get that answered for you before we close out the call if you want to retype your question. Um, yeah, so I don't see any other questions or comments that you see coming in, Nick.
No, not at the moment. Just waiting on Jeff to potentially resubmit that question for us. But I
Yeah,
don't.
yeah, we'll give him another second, and then if not, we'll wrap up and we'll reach out direct just to make sure that he's covered. Don't want to hold up everyone else. I'm sure they have a bunch of stuff to get to. Maybe some fires that they're still left putting out from yesterday. So we'll let everyone get back to it. Thank you all for your time. I see some new faces in here, so always great to see some new people in here. But always a pleasure to see the regulars um, that are in here, that are consistently in here. So thanks everyone for your time today. Again, next month, same day, Tuesday, 1 p.m. Eastern, and we'll. Is there okay? We got Jeff's question. Is there timing bugs with the update? With anything past 2.15.3, no. The 2.15.4 update did update the NTP settings to help to alleviate any timing issues that we had. Obviously, getting up to 2.15.3, so moving from 2.14.3 to 2.14.4 up to 2.15.3, that NTP timing issue might happen. For some people it did, for some people it didn't. It's kind of depending on the environment. But the source of the issue is the time.nist.gov designated as a server. And basically the update, we added a new catch to help the NTP synchronize. We changed actually the service that it uses, but we also changed the default setting under NTP. We actually changed it, and I'll just check on my system here. We changed it to pool. We actually changed it to the publicly available Ubuntu pool, just because the NIST.gov servers sometimes have just insane latency, which can cause, as you know, synchronization issues. So to answer shortly, 2.15.4 moving forward, no, there is no issues with NTP. If you're on a previous version, then it might crop up. So if there's an issue updating and NTP is the culprit, please reach out to support and they'll help you out. And we'll also just end on the statement talking of make sure that the NTP settings for your NeQter are the same that you have in your environment. You want to use the same time servers internally for everything, and that is a compliant requirement for NIST and CMMC. So we put a default one in there, just so it works, so it functions. But you obviously want to make sure you're using a uniform NTP server throughout your enterprise. So hopefully that answers your question, Jeff. So is an issue 215.3 and prior, or maybe an issue 215.3 and prior, moving forward up from 215.4, not an issue any longer. We fixed it. So thanks, Jeff, for your question. And we got Jeff's question, so we can end the webinar. So thanks, everyone. Thank you for your time, and we'll catch you next month. Hopefully, we'll see some local faces at the NDIA event. If you'd like to attend either the conference or the free after party, please reach out to either Nick or myself, and we'll get you the information you need to sign up for that. So thanks everyone for your time today, and we'll catch you next month.